Mike Pringle is the player of the game as the Alouettes take over first place in the East. Now to BC Place, and here's Chris Cuthbert and Glenn Suter.
Thank you, Mark, and good afternoon, everybody. We're set to go between the Winnipeg Blue Bombers and the BC Lions. Glenn, in what is a critical game, these two in opposite divisions, and yet both with important playoff connotations in this matchup.
Well, absolutely. Winnipeg Blue Bombers just barely ahead of Toronto, but they don't want BC to cross over should they finish fourth in the West. So very important game for both teams.
Troy Westwood to kick it off, and we're underway at BC Place Stadium. And Mike Fletcher takes it on a hop. Fletcher trying to kick it outside and caught from behind by Doug Hocking. Ball comes loose, and the Bombers have it. Rio Wells comes up with the loose ball, and Winnipeg gets a quick start on the road.
Well, amazing start for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. When you're on the road and you're 0-5 on the road like Winnipeg is this year, you need to get a quick start, and that's exactly what Rio Wells gives them with the big fumble from Mike Fletcher. Now they got to capitalize with the football and the sudden change. Tackle made by Doug Hocking. He pulls it out as Fletcher goes down, and Rio Wells gets the good bounce and gives his team the ball first.
And shades of August the 4th when these two teams last met, and the Lions turned it over 8 times. So Kahari Jones, an understudy for 3 years in BC, goes to work and hands it off to another former Lion, Corey Philpott, up the middle down to the 24-yard line. Jones coming off his best game as a starter last week. 390 yards in a victory over Saskatchewan. 3 touchdown passes, and Glenn, no interceptions.
Yeah, he's making good decisions, getting better every game out. He's playing with still has a little bit of a sore shoulder on his passing arm. Concern for Dave Ritchie coming into this one.
2nd and 5. Jones back to pass. He has a completion at the 19-yard line, and that should be close to a first down for his favorite target, Milt Stegall.
Well, of course, Milt Stegall loves to play against the BC Lions. Last time these two teams played, over 150 yards receiving for Milt Stegall. Last year in a game, he had 233 yards, including a 99-yarder. So Milt Stegall loves the BC Lions. That's their challenge. Take away Stegall.
Stegall led the CFL in receiving in 97 and is approaching 1,000 yards for the 3rd time in his career. Did the nose of the football get there?
They have to take a close look at that one.
Get the magnifying glass out. Looks like it'll be 3rd down and millimeters.
Yeah. That's not even a whole chain link.
Ken Lazarick in charge.
That's how precise this game is. It's not even a game of inches, a game of less than inches sometimes.
Here's Dave Ritchie, who won a Grey Cup with the BC Lions in 1994. And has addressed the fact that his team has not won a game on the road, and he wanted all distractions eliminated this week. So 3rd and less than a chain link. And Jones pushes in behind the center. Dave Van Conant, who is playing in his 175th CFL game today.
You talk about distractions. 18 players down there in the Bombers, including Dave Ritchie, who's a former BC Lion. Used to play in BC.
There are the running backs behind Jones, Corey Philpott and Brad Yamoka. Philpott really anxious to get back to Vancouver and prove he's still a CFL starter. Good receiving core.
Explosive. Milt Stegall, we all know about him, but he's not their leading receiver. Robert Gordon is having a good year. And there's a veteran offensive line anchored by Big Dave Van Conant, the veteran at center.
Elo returning to BC, and Brett McNeil, they've taped him up again this week.
Elo having an outstanding season with the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. Really turned his entire life around from a year ago.
Too many men on the field. The penalty charged against the Lions. And so Winnipeg has a first down and goal from just inside the 10. Jones will look into the end zone and overthrows Milt Stegall.
Well, it looked like he got in behind Derek Lewis by about 2 steps. It would have had to have been a perfect throw from Kahari Jones, however, because of the angle that Bo Lewis had got underneath Milt Stegall. But obviously, when they get down in what they call the red zone, they're going after their #1 target inside. You'll see that Derek Lewis gets in behind him a little bit. That's about a 1.5 step. Like I said, it would have to have been a perfect pass up and over Derek Lewis and dropped right into the hands of Stegall.
Last year, Stegall had an 11-catch, 233-yard game against these BC Lions. 2nd and goal. Jones with time into the end zone again. And is it a touchdown? No. Big defensive play by Raphael Ball.
Well, Albert Johnson had his hands on it, but Raphael Ball refused to give up on the play. As Albert Johnson, who has become a huge big play receiver and returner for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, had a chance at it. He thinks he had possession. The ball is going to be thrown to the left of your screen. Quick out pattern to Albert Johnson. He has it there. Is it enough to break the plane? The refs say no, he didn't have control. Wow. Very close.
So Johnson denied. And the Bombers will have to settle for 3 off the left foot of Troy Westwood. So a field goal after the fumble recovery on the opening kickoff stakes the Bombers to an early lead. 3-0 Bombers. The BC Lions will scrimmage from their own 35-yard line. And it's an interesting attack that Damon Allen will engineer. Now the top-rated offensive team in terms of yardage in the CFL, but Glenn, it has not translated into points.
Yeah, there are problems in what they call the green zone. Most teams call it the red zone. Once they get down in scoring range, they have problems getting it across the goal line. 600 yards against Winnipeg last time and only 16 points.
Lions have lost 3 of their last 4, 2 hard luck losses in a row, and Damon Allen on a bootleg as an open receiver. Don Blair across the 50 to the 52-yard line. Blair with a couple of touchdown catches last week and 17 yards on this pickup.
Robert Drummond and Sean Millington in the backfield behind Damon Allen, who was banged up last week but is good to go. They said it was like getting a funny bone hit in his knee. Alfred Jackson has been open early and often in the last couple of games, and Damon Allen is having trouble finding him in the football.
And the big guys up front, Christopher Perez, the left tackle, having a strong season. And of course, Jamie Terrace, the center. Drummond up the middle, and this team features, there's Oliver getting tangled up with Harold Nash early.
Another injured Lion that was questionable for this game with a groin injury. Jimmy Oliver in the lineup. He got over it in a hurry this week. Here's defensively for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. Alfred Payton playing his best football the last 3 weeks of the season, has 7 sacks on the year. Linebacking core, Antonio Armstrong, former BC Lion, would be their defensive nominee. Dave Donaldson has played very well all season in the halfback position.
2nd and 7 for Damon Allen. Looks to the near side, and there's Oliver stretching out to make the catch before he's drilled by Brandon Hamilton. Steve Barato, the coach of the BC Lions, very complimentary about Jimmy Oliver.
Yeah, when we talked to him yesterday, he's talked about Jimmy Oliver, and he quite simply just said, this guy is special. And then he said he reminds me of Mervyn Fernandez, and BC Lion fans know Merv Fernandez well, one of the greatest receivers in Lion history. Guy that can go after the football is Jimmy Oliver.
Most striking comparison is after he makes the catch. Didn't get a chance to run with that one, but a super catch to give the Lions a first down, and Allen throws it away. Mix up in the patterns there, and an incompletion.
You mentioned a couple of heartbreaking losses for the BC Lions. Their last 2 losses by a total of 8 points, including truly a heartbreaker against the Edmonton Eskimos a week ago when they went into overtime and really couldn't stop Edmonton in overtime defensively. Steve Barato has addressed some of that problem. Cut Paul Lacoste, who wasn't playing up to expectations, and Kelly Lockbaum starting in the middle at the linebacker spot.
2nd and 10 from the Bomber 43. Allen with time and an incompletion. He was looking for Donnie Blair, but Harold Nash in coverage for Winnipeg.
Well, the pressure will be on the 2 halfbacks for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers defensively, Harold Nash and Dave Donaldson. Danny Don Blair on the out pattern. Doesn't get enough separation on Harold Nash, but that's where the BC Lions will go after him. They'll put Alfred Jackson in there and get Don Blair in there and see if they can't beat those halfbacks.
Well, the guy still playing at age 46 is one of my favorites in the CFL. And here's Louis Pasaglia getting set to punt on 3rd down. Averaging 38.4 a punt this season. He has to be wary of Albert Johnson III, who takes it on a hop and is well covered. Not too well covered because they were inside the restraining line there for 5 yards. Chuck Levy, and a no yards will be called against the BC Lions. So Khari Jones of the Bombers will start deep in their own zone when we return to BC Place Stadium in Vancouver. Welcome back to Vancouver on a cloudy Thanksgiving Day in BC Place Stadium. The Bombers will start from the 10-yard line. Winnipeg 4-4-1 after losing their first 4 of the season, and we're talking about the tough losses the Lions have endured of late. Some real heartbreakers for Winnipeg early. Here's Philpott trying the right side, a couple of yards against a BC Lions defense that is number 2 against the pass, number 7 against the rush.
They've had to make some adjustments. Eric England plays his first game on the defensive line in the middle of that line. Herman Smith been the most consistent player up there. Kelly Lockbaum replaces Paul Lacoste at middle linebacker. Will play on running downs. And in the secondary, Eric Carter, the veteran, 4 interceptions on the season.
2nd and 6. From the 14 and out of the shotgun. Khari Jones drills it and has a completion to Geroy Simon at the 26-yard line. That's a first down and gives the Bombers some breathing room.
Chris, you mentioned the distractions for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. 0-5 on the road this season. In fact, they haven't won a road game since last October last year. Now, Dave Ritchie did talk about that because 18 people down on that sideline right now used to be BC Lions. That means there's lots of old friends, old family here in BC. They've got to get tickets for them. And he said, sometimes I have guys on the cell phones in the locker room prior to warm-up. He's got to eliminate all that and focus on the job at hand on the field.
Yeah, I think they had to check those cell phones in a couple hours early today. First down. And a flag down as that pass is batted down. Is it picked off? Yes, it is. It's the Lions' ball pending the flag.
Oh, and it'll come back. Looks like it's offside BC Lions.
Two. Offside. BC, number 2. First down reported.
Eric Carter is called on the offside. Eric Carter is the corner. Means he was up in bump and run. And he got way too close, right down at the bottom of your screen, but he looks like he's at least a yard off.
Strange call gives the Bombers a 1st and 5 situation, allows them to retain the football.
Well, you know, you got to go back to that because that's amazing call to me because for 2 reasons. One, he looked like he was a yard and a half off the ball. Number 2, the corners are taught to check with the official prior to the snap. They'll look at the official and they'll point to him and they'll say, listen, am I okay? And just, you know, you take a look at Eric Carter. He looked, first of all, like he was a good yard and a half. Look at that. He's a yard and a half off the football. He's already checked with the official and he gets called and takes away a turnover. Wow.
He's looking over at the official now, checking again, but really not much of an argument on that call as Jones goes back to the air. And there's a catch on the far side to Robert Gordon, who has had an outstanding year, approaching a career high for him. That's his 73rd catch, which is 3rd in the Canadian Football League.
Yeah, when you have Milt Stegall in your lineup, it's hard to get the football because quarterbacks often are looking for Milt Stegall first. But when Milt Stegall draws double coverage, which he often does, Khari Jones is looking for Robert Gordon, and like you mentioned, just having his best season to date.
A couple of touchdowns against the Lions in their first meeting. 5 catches, 90 yards. That was a 9-yard play and a first down for Winnipeg. Jones again, nice protection going downfield for Simon and nearly picked off. Eric Carter got his hands on it as it was thrown into double coverage.
Veteran play by Eric Carter, who was in man-to-man, but he was covering Albert Johnson. Albert Johnson ran a short pattern, and when he saw the ball in the air, Eric Carter just fell off to help out his teammates. This was not Eric Carter's man. He did this on his own. He drops the coverage, drops his man, and falls back to help out Raphael Ball, and he has his hands on that football. Very nearly has an interception.
Well, the Veterans has 4 interceptions this year, including 1.
Had a solid year with the exception of 1 play in Montreal.
Had one against the Bombers earlier this season. There's a ball over the middle, incomplete, intended for Stiegel, and it will force the Bombers into a punting situation.
Eric Carter's played so well this season. And 1 bad play in Montreal really cost him a chance.
There's Carl Kidd playing in his first game, and he draws the unenviable assignment of snuffing Milt Stiegel.
Very first game for Carl Kidd, and Steve Barato is going to ask him to cover one of the best in the game in Milt Stiegel, if not the best. So good luck, Kidd.
So far, so good. 3 years with the Raiders, and he gets a quick welcome to the Canadian Football League. Ball bouncing down to Fletcher, who has trouble with it. No yards penalty, as there's a real pile-up, and a man scramble continues for the ball. However, the Bombers encroached on that 5-yard restraining area.
And a fit fumble and fall down for the BC Lions. Mike Fletcher again having trouble handling the football, but I think, like you mentioned, Chris, Winnipeg was in that no yards area, which means the Lions will keep possession.
Just Fletcher's 4th week in a punt return role, and Jimmy Cunningham not in the lineup for BC.
No yards, Winnipeg, number 2, first down BC.
Dave Donaldson inside the no yards area. As soon as Mike Fletcher touches the football for the first time, which is right there, you see Dave Donaldson, number 2, well inside the 5-yard straining zone.
So the ball's at the 20, and a first down for BC. Averaging over 420 yards a game in offense. This is Drummond. Left side. Wickman there defensively to limit the gain to about 3.
Interesting looking at the Winnipeg lineup defensively, what they're trying to do. The BC Lions coming into this game wanted to get the football as much as they could to Alfred Jackson in the slot position. He felt that matchup with Dave Donaldson and Harold Nash would be one that they could take advantage of. But right now the Winnipeg Blue Bombers are moving corner Jerron Bolden in to match up with Alfred Jackson. The game inside the game. There he is, Bolden on Jackson.
The explosive Jackson. And the play doesn't get started.
Well, it's an interesting matchup, Chris, because Jerron Bolden, who's been injured this season, back in Hamilton, took away Archie Amerson. They really just had...
League of procedure, BC, number 62, still second down.
Chris Perez moved early.
They had Bolden just matched up all night long on Archie Amerson, and he took him out of his game. Unfortunately for the Bombers, he was injured in that game late and missed a couple, but Bolden has got the great one-on-one ability. So he's on Alfred Jackson here this afternoon.
2nd and 13. Here comes the rush, and Allen escaped outside. Tried to dump it off for Blair, incomplete.
Allen gets flushed, and again the veteran not making or forcing a mistake down the field. You know, Steve Barato has been a little bit frustrated with the offense in some ways. When you look at generating over 400 yards of offense per game, number 1 in the Canadian Football League, but ranking 6th when it comes to points.
And yet defending his quarterback, who he feels has been
absolutely
fairly consistent. The weapons around him have not been. There's Albert Johnson. He's been a big play guy all season long. Can he turn the corner? Oh, nailed. Welcome by Chuck Levy when he did. lowered the shoulder, and they'll talk about that hit as the Bombers have great field position when we return to BC Place Stadium. Chuck Levy lowered the shoulder and limited the Albert Johnson return to 5 yards.
Well, they better get some hits on Albert Johnson, because the Winnipeg Blue Bombers this year have made 28 plays over 40 yards. 12 of them have come from Albert Johnson.
He has the most combined yardage in the CFL coming into this week by over 500 yards on the next guy. That's how dominant he's been in all facets this year.
Yeah, well, you talk about rookie candidates. You talk about Mark Boerichter in Calgary and Curtis Marsh in Saskatchewan. Well, Albert Johnson has really got some things done for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers this year.
Corey Philpott with 4 yards on that carry, and the Bombers in good position here to try and add to a 3-0 lead. Second and close to 5, and an incompletion intended for Gordon.
When Milt Stegall went in motion to the wide side of the field, Kahari Jones knew the coverage he had immediately, which was one-on-one man-to-man. Rafael Ball on the outside. He went right to that matchup on a timing pattern to Robert Gordon, his leading receiver, and the timing was just off slightly.
So Westwood back in. This a 48-yard attempt. He's hit from 56 this year. Off the bar and good.
It bounced in.
You got to call that. Little bank shot, and Westwood savors it. 6-0 Bombers.
Closed captioning of this program is brought to you by Tim Hortons Cafe Mocha. Just one of our 3 delicious specialty coffees.
You know, you'll take some of those when early in the season you had a couple hit and bounce the other way. And there goes the football right off the inside of the post. Bank shot for 3 points. You think back to the Calgary game in week 2, Westwood missed one to tie it. The very next week against Edmonton, missed one to tie it. I mean, he deserves a couple of those.
Now with the dual role, punting, Bob Cameron still out with the back problems. Lions trying to get their offense on track, but so far not been able to move the football.
Well, again, Damon Allen looking to Alfred Jackson, and Jerome Bolden right in his hip pocket.
Talking to Damon Allen yesterday, as well as they've moved it, he says it's still the attention to detail that's been missing with this team, and it's the reason they have not been able to capitalize on so much yardage success. 2nd and 10, he's going deep and overthrows the intended receiver, Sean Graham.
Again, tremendous coverage downfield. Harold Nash right with Graham. When you mention getting in the red zone and not scoring points, it's been the problem with the Lions, and it is that lack of concentration like you talked about. The offside penalty at the wrong time, the holding call at the wrong time, forcing him in deep situations. Now look, Damon Allen had plenty of time to throw the football, but Harold Nash right on Sean Graham. Pressure's on the halfbacks, and so far they've responded well.
Been some concern about the back end for Winnipeg this season, but an impressive start here in BC as Bisaglia kicks it away. And here's Albert Johnson with a flag down. Johnson stopped right at the 35. Roger Wrightston in amongst the tacklers after the 40-yard punt.
Well, every time the Lions punt to the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, they have a couple of concerns. One is Albert Johnson, like we mentioned, and his return ability. The other is they've had the uncanny ability of blocking punts this year. 5 block punts for Winnipeg.
No yards. BC, number 89. First down.
3 of those block punts for touchdowns.
So Denny Montana called for no yards. That will put the ball at the Winnipeg 50. They also have a blocked field goal, so 6 kicks, which ties a Winnipeg club record. Kahari Jones back to work. Flushed out. He'll take off. Gets close to midfield and has 5, and we've got Brett McNeil tangled up.
Uh-oh. That's a penalty. Eric England just threw Brett McNeil's helmet. He got great draw weight and ended up right on the 4-yard line, just shy of the end zone with the helmet.
Could be a new Olympic sport, the helmet toss.
Well, what did Brett McNeil do to get Eric England that fired up? Playing in his first game in the middle of that defensive line. He's played on the edge and he's played in the linebacking core, but never up in the middle. So he'll be nose to nose with Brett McNeil all night long.
That hat separated a bit. He's got to get the stuffing back in that turkey bowl. As we sort things out, Brett's got a little wrestling experience too, so that might be part of a new act.
Yeah, and he's not in any mood to mess with Eric England today. He just, he's taped together. He's likely had a few painkillers in him to get into this game at all.
Sportsmanlike conduct, BC, number 96. First out.
Unsportsmanlike conduct, but decent draw weight.
Yeah, no reward for distance.
50-yard throw from Eric England, but he'll just sit down on the bench and cool off.
Well, he's played end along with linebacker, tackle, and apparently if Damon Allen gets hurt, he could come in and throw in a pinch. It's a first down for the Bombers. Just over a minute to go in the opening quarter. And down to the BC 45. Here's Philpott skipping into the hole. And down inside the 40 for 7.
Well, Corey Philpott, so important to Kahari Jones the rest of the way this year. Corey Philpott in his 4th start of the season, coming off a great game versus Saskatchewan where he was close to 100 yards in that huge win for the Bombers a week ago. What Corey Philpott can do on first down is take pressure off Kahari Jones, get him in 2nd and short, 2nd and medium.
2nd and 3 here. And Philpott again, left side. And he should have the first down. Lockbaum brings him down. Corey Philpott, 3 times 1,000-yard rusher with the BC Lions, including the Lions record 1,457 yards in 94.
Well, when it was back to Thunder and Lightning, Sean Millington and Corey Philpott between 94 and 96, those 3 years, Philpott had over 3,000 yards rushing during that time, 94 to 97 actually. And that was when he was at his best. He lost his confidence in 98, didn't play, struggled last year in a couple of tryouts. Looks like he's getting it back.
First down. Jones with some heat on. He's got great escapability. Crosses the line and slides foot first.
Oh, wise idea.
A big hit.
Oh, wise idea. Very smart, Kahari Jones, to get down then.
That's the final play of the opening quarter. The Winnipeg Blue Bombers are threatening and already enjoying a 6-0 lead.
There's the Bombers' Brett McNeil, who had his helmet tossed about 25-30 yards by England of the BC Lions. I asked England what he did, and he said, I'm not going to tell you I've got the entire game to go through, but he said, I've also got an entire game to get even. Look out, guys.
The battle inside. And, like a bear is always in trouble, and right now Brett McNeil looks like a bear, a wounded bear. That's even worse.
First quarter numbers, and most of the numbers favor the Winnipeg Blue Bombers.
Well, time possession is a big one, but when you look at the rushing yards compared to the passing yards, kind of uncharacteristic to have them that close. But Corey Philpott, a factor already in this game.
Troy Westwood with a pair of field goals. The Lions fumbling the opening kickoff. That's given Winnipeg early momentum. There's England digging in. 2nd and 7 for the Bombers. Jones going to the wide side of the field, has a completion, and we also have a flag down. Marcus Howell, the Winnipeg native, with the catch. Will it stand?
Marcus Howell just ran out of room over there. Had he had an extra yard, he could have turned the corner. Eric Carter had fallen down.
Options being given to Kahari Jones.
Illegal contact on a receiver. BC number 23. First down.
Okay. So we search
Chuck Levy. Chuck has played a little bit.
In fact, he has a sack on defense. He plays a little defense. Is usually a backup defensive back.
I just don't see him in right now.
No.
You wonder if it's 33.
Yeah, I think the wrong number.
In any event, it's a first down for the Bombers. Play action. Jones looking downfield. Touchdown. Milt Stegall. Touchdown number 11 on the season.
If you're going to take the safety out of the middle, which the BC Lions decided to do on that play, you know that Kahari Jones wants to look for Stegall, who can get into that middle in a hurry. Watch McClellan right there, number 34. His feet don't get moving in time. He stops his feet, and look at the wide open middle of the field for Milt Stegall.
Well, he had 3 touchdowns last week and another call back. Stegall in a groove, so is Kahari Jones. And the Bombers have taken a giant step forward in pursuit of their first road win of the year. A 22-yard touchdown pass, and Westwood adds the point after. And the Bombers have bolted out to an early 13. 11 touchdown catches now for Milt Stegall, one behind the leader, Daryl Mitchell of the Toronto Argonauts, as he closes in on another 1,000-yard season. Just 5 yards shy now.
A little surprising that the BC Lions don't just double team Milt Stegall and make Kahari Jones throw the ball somewhere else.
Chuck Levy trying to provide a spark, but it's the Bombers all fired up right now. 9 yards on the return. Brian Clark with the tackle.
One way you can try and take care of Stegall is to involve your safety, Central McClellan.
When it looks like the Bombers were offside on that kickoff,
which is a tough situation for Winnipeg.
Offside, Winnipeg, 0-0, 5 yards back, free kick.
Harold Nash, simply because now you have to run again. They've just run down the field about 60 yards. They walk back and they have to do it again. And if you're going to get a return on a cover team, it's when they've had to do it twice in a row.
60-yard scoring drive for the Bombers. And the folks in Winnipeg have to be encouraged by the way this team is starting to come together.
Absolutely. Kahari Jones. This is throw down the middle to Milt Stegall on the touchdown. Central McClellan way out of position. And Derek Lewis really had no chance.
Couple of catches, 27 yards for Stegall. And now they'll kick off from their own 30, and they'll try a short kick. And Nash has got it, but he wasn't 10 yards. A flag is down, and Harold Nash all the way down to the BC 32-yard line, but hold on.
Yeah, I don't think he was 10 yards. The ball has got to travel 10 yards before you can touch the football. Harold Nash grabbed that, and Dave Ritchie is saying that it was.
They were back at the 30, and maybe the official just marked the line
from the normal
kickoff spot, and that's what Dave Ritchie's arguing.
Yeah, and if you get the penalty and you're back 10 yards, it's still just 10 yards. It doesn't become 20 yards.
Because it's quite clear from the argument that it is not another offside call.
Well, there it is on the 30-yard line. Let's see where Harold Nash catches it.
Number 0-0. First down for BC
got
at
it
the
well
point
over
ball
the 40.
touch.
3 yards over the 40-yard line.
That should have stood. And Dave Ritchie, Harold Nash.
Oh, my.
The Bombers have a case. Grant Collard, the back judge, makes the call.
Oh, my goodness. Now, he must have been confused as to where the football was placed, because that ball, when it's caught by Nash, he comes down 3 yards past that 40-yard line strike. That is a clean onside kick and a huge turnaround.
Now we've got one of the off-field officials talking to referee Ken Lazaruk.
Well, they may straighten it out.
I don't know if they can at this point. They're going to have a little conference, though.
It would be almost unheard of to see them change their minds now.
It's a huge call because it gives BC the ball at the Winnipeg 40. And they're still going to talk about it.
Well, did Harold Nash leave his feet inside?
Check it. The line judge
One
made
more
the call.
time. One more time, Chris. I mean, there's the 40-yard line. Here comes the football. Nash jumps. That doesn't matter. He is past that line. When he comes down, he's 3 yards past it.
It is BC ball, and we should say it's the line judge who makes the call, Kerry Anderson.
Wow.
Number 42 there. And they'll be looking at that in the film room.
No question. You know, there was another close one when Albert Johnson had a touchdown in the first drive. Looked like he may have had possession. That was called back, took 7 off the board. Harold Nash not only recovered it legally, but he gained 40 yards afterwards. They'd be in the scoring range right now again.
Instead, it's BC with a chance to get on the board. 2nd and 8 as they dump it off. Here's Alfred Jackson, and he's dragged down from behind by Bolden.
Okay, I got the score right now. Jerron Bolden 3, Alfred Jackson 1. That was the first one because Damon Allen in the first quarter looked to him a couple of times, and he was well covered by Bolden. It's a matchup that is a little bit of a surprise from the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, although Bolden is a great cover man. So here's Alfred Jackson's first chance in a crossing pattern, one of the toughest to cover. Picks up some good yardage after the fact. So
he had a 118-yard game against Winnipeg, August the 4th. First down Lions. Allen looking downfield at the end zone. And incomplete to Sean Millington.
Okay, now I got it 4-1 because Bolden just came up on Alfred Jackson, jammed him, and did not let him off the line of scrimmage. And that forced Damon Allen to look to the opposite side of the field to his running back out of the backfield. To the left of your screen, Alfred Jackson's trying to get open and is not getting more than about 2 yards down the line, so he's forced to go down the sideline. That matchup running back on Antonio Armstrong.
Looked like Armstrong was able to slow up Millington and knock that pattern off kilter. 2nd and 10. Allen on a roll to the left, looking into the end zone, and it's knocked down. Big defensive play there.
Dave Donaldson comes up from the halfback spot, works on Sean Graham, and fights for the football. There was some hand fighting going on between Sean Graham and Dave Donaldson, and a good no call, I think, by the officials. He's the corner pattern to the top left corner of your screen. A little bit of hand fighting right there, but he's looking back to the football. That's why the flag stays in the pocket of the back judge. Looks back to the ball, tries to time his jump, and distracts Sean Graham enough.
Another former BC Lion, Dave Donaldson, in his 4th year and really coming into his own, and we'll have more on him and Marcus Howell, a couple of Winnipeg natives who've become key young Bombers. Louis Pasaglia has his 28th field goal in 30 attempts this year, and the Lions are on the board at BC Place.
The getting's good because they flat out robbed Winnipeg of a big play.
Dan Giancola handles the kickoff duties for the BC Lions. The heir apparent to Louis Pasaglia. And here is the Speedy Johnson. Well, you can just see the stealth bomber.
He was close. A little bit of a seam there. An arm tackle got him, but watch out for Johnson.
You know, Kahari Jones, Glenn talked last week about being more a part of the preparation going into the game against Saskatchewan and how much more comfortable he was because of that. I guess it's part of the maturation process of a young quarterback.
Well, absolutely, and the clearer they see things defensively, the more confident they get as the season goes on, and that takes a lot of reps, and it takes the quarterback getting some control of that offense.
Jones working with a 10-point lead as he fakes the handoff to Philpott and finds Robert Gordon, who shook Bo Lewis for a couple of extra yards. May get the first down.
And one of the problems with Kahari Jones' injury to his throwing arm and his shoulder is the fact that he couldn't take a lot of reps the last 3 weeks in practice. You know, so Kahari Jones is playing a great game here this afternoon, considering over the last 3 weeks he's taken limited reps in practice and had to play hurt.
Dozen yards for Gordon and a first down at the Winnipeg 50. Inside Philpott, and he's wrapped up after 3.
Corey Philpott's problem early in the year when he was competing with George Jones for the starting tailback spot was he put the ball on the ground way too much. And that's a confidence issue a lot of times with the running back. Corey Philpott had lost confidence last year and in 1998 when he didn't play. But Dave Ritchie loves Corey Philpott. Loved him when he had him here in BC. Gave him a second chance, and he's making the best of it right now.
2nd and 7. Here comes the rush, and Eric England kneeling Kahari Jones.
There's a little payback for Eric England. Take it out on the quarterback.
3rd sack of the year.
Well, you're in the battle up front. You can take out your frustrations on the quarterback. He's going to come from the bottom of your screen and just simply is let free. You better get a body on Eric England. Maybe his first game inside, but you got to put somebody on him. Get off the field.
That will not help the shoulder of Kahari Jones. Brings Westwood into the game to punt. And he booms that. Fletcher. Down at the 17-yard line. A 52-yard punt by Troy Westwood. Lions trailing by 10. The quick hitter to Don Blair. And Blair will have a first down near the 30 for the BC Lions.
I think I'm a little surprised with the Lions offensively is the fact that they haven't got Sean Millington involved in this football game running the ball. Now they are behind early, but there's so much time left that they should be still staying with the game plan. Last time Millington and the BC Lions played against Winnipeg, Sean had 121 yards rushing. Right now, they're just going to the quick passing game. And Damon's still looking for Alfred Jackson.
Here's Millington off the right side, wrapped up by Brian Clark. Millington number 4 in the CFL in rushing. And his running partner, Robert Drummond, number 5, both with over 600 yards on the ground.
And they just absolutely have to get him involved. Number 1, he has the ability to put up over 100 yards easily in the game. Number 2, they won't respect play action. I'm talking about the Winnipeg defense. You don't even have to run play action if you're not handing it to him occasionally.
Only 1 for Millington there. And the Bombers have been tough against the ground game this season. There's a pass and a completion across the 50-yard line to the other running back. And that's what Robert Drummond brings to the table, an ability to do both. Now, 21-yard gain.
Chris, with Sean Millington on this roster for the BC Lions, when Robert Drummond comes into the game, primarily he is used as a receiver. And what the Lions are hoping that Winnipeg will do will leave a linebacker in the game, because that's the matchup they like, to have Robert Drummond running on one of the linebackers.
6 completion for Allen. Here's number 7, but it didn't go anywhere. Rylan Wickman snuffing that play out and dropping a 3-yard loss on the play.
Screen plays usually work well when teams play zone defense, because you can fool the defense into thinking that you're going the other way with the football. And that time Winnipeg was in man-to-man, and Wickman was covering Sean Millington on the play. He made the play.
So it's 2nd and 13. Allen downfield, and like Graham held up as Harold Nash had him well covered.
Well, Damon Allen will likely go talk to his receiving corps, because there's some miscommunication problems going on down the field right now. The Winnipeg Blue Bombers went with the blitz. When a blitz comes like that, Damon Allen is expecting his receivers to make adjustments. And all they did was run straight down the field with their back to the quarterback. Damon Allen just threw it so no one could catch it.
So the Lions offense continues to sputter here. Bisaglia angling the punt. Here's Johnson. Lost his footing. He's dropped at the 21. We're midway through the second quarter in Vancouver. Winnipeg with a 10-point lead. Well, Damon Allen just had a conference with Sean Graham, Doug Nesmeyer, the backup quarterback, and with Steve Barato.
Yeah, and he quite simply just walked over there and said to Sean Graham, you guys got to help me out. He's got to talk to the receiving corps. When they run blitz, look for me. I'm going to not have as much time to throw the football.
First down, Winnipeg at the 22, over the top. There's Stiegel, look out. Milt Stiegel crossing midfield. Kelly Lockbaum got him from behind. 37 yards.
Well, they're going to lead. This time it's Derek Lewis slides over to try and cover Stiegel, and they're going to leave him with no help. And you know that's tough on anybody. Over to the left of your screen here. Derek Lewis one-on-one with no help from the safety, Central McClellan. And what we may see as this game progresses, and what the Lions better do, is slide that safety McClellan over and just double-team Stiegel. So far, they're hoping Derek Lewis can hang on.
Stiegel's gone over 1,000 yards once again. Corey Philpott now. Held to about 2 as he crosses the 50. Jason Kralt now in as a linebacker, the former Carlton Raven.
Well, this is what usually will happen for the Lions. Derek Lewis and Chuck Levy now will come in on the passing down. Kelly Lockbaum will go out from the linebacker spot. So they'll go with some quicker, more defensive backs kind of in the defensive lineup when passing down.
2nd and 8. Stiegel out of the backfield. And Simon unable to make the one-handed catch. And it will be 3rd down for the Bombers.
Chuck Levy came in as the extra defensive back, normally a running back, and goes on the blitz. He has 1 sack defensively this season, and he's coming off the corner. Number 23 makes an inside move and forces a quicker throw from Kahari Jones. He can't hook up with Geroy Simon.
A few guys capable of going both ways. Alfred Jackson has done it at times. Dave Donaldson of the Bombers has had double duty in 7 different games this season. Another great punt by Westwood.
Wow.
Boy, he went to the Bob Cameron School, and that is a perfect kick, which backs up the Lions to their own 5-yard line. Well, this is how important this game is. 4 teams within 2 points of each other, and Glenn, forget about where they play, east or west. 2 of these teams will make it, the other 2 won't.
That's right. You look at the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, not only are they trying to hold off Toronto, but they also have to look across the other side in the West Division at Saskatchewan and BC. That's why this game is so important for them.
And yet the Lions still have designs on catching Edmonton. The Eskimos blasted today in Montreal, and if BC would win today, they'd move back within 4 as we head down the home stretch in October. So far today, the Lions have just Winnipeg to worry about.
Good team speed there by Winnipeg to slide over. Antonio Armstrong, like we mentioned earlier, having a tremendous year and really would be their defensive nominee right now should the voting happen right today. Damon Allen gets out for Jackson to bite to the play action, but watch how quickly Antonio Armstrong flies over there and gets in on the tackle.
Armstrong had 9 tackles the last time he faced his former team.
Player of the week in week 11. 5th in the CFL in tackling.
Good numbers right across the board. 2nd down for Allen. Dumps it off underneath. And it's Robert Drummond Up to the 20-yard line.
Chris, just as we pumped him up, Antonio Armstrong misses a tackle. And it happens to everyone out there on the field. If you haven't missed a tackle or two, you're not playing. Drummond to the right of your screen catches this little hitch, turns around, little screen pass, and there's 58 right there. Gets a little too low and misses that tackle. Drummond picks up the first.
Back to the ground. Alfred Payton with the tackle of Drummond. Haven't called his name yet today.
Alfred Payton didn't get a real quick start to the season. He was released from Montreal last year, and Dave Ritchie took him back. Very vocal still in that huddle. 7 sacks on the season, but last 2 games have been his best football this year. Even talking to Joe Paopao, offensive coordinator for BC, he said Alfred Payton looks like he's preparing for the playoffs. Take a look at Adam Rita there and Joe Paopao over to the right of your screen. Up in the booth for the Lions.
There's Allen. Upended. Troy Bailey limits the gain and forces BC into a punting situation.
Troy Bailey, by both coaching staffs, has been compared to Joe Fleming, the Calgary Stampeders. And if you're compared to Joe Fleming, you're doing something. And Joe Fleming could be a front runner for defensive player in the entire league. Troy Bailey was compared by both coaching staffs to Joe Fleming.
Sack in each of his last 3 games. Flag down. As Pasaglia was roughed up. There's Johnson. This will be all for naught as he's dropped at the 46.
Now, Louis Pasaglia's age, Harold Nash has got to have more respect. He just cannot treat an older gentleman like that. He gets the late hit on Louis Pasaglia. That's a good try by Nash. Here comes Harold Nash. He had a crack at the punt. We mentioned they blocked 5 punts this year, so they're confident at it. He maybe got pushed a little bit by 0-0. Robert Drummond.
First down.
In any event, it's a first down for BC. And something like that can turn the game around.
Well, Winnipeg has got a couple now that have turned it around, and one of the other ones involved Harold Nash on that onside kick that was given to the BC Lions and shouldn't have been.
Just over 3 minutes left.
Might be a lengthy reel headed to the league after this one from Dave Ritchie.
New set of downs for the Lions. There's Jackson. He's going to throw it if he gets time to set it up. Now he lets it go, and wide open's Jimmy Oliver. Here's Oliver trying to outrun Brian Clark, and he stepped out of bounds at the 27-yard line.
How about Alfred Jackson? The Winnipeg Blue Bombers defensively have been a team that pursues tenaciously. Alfred Jackson takes advantage of it, and so does Joe Paopao with a little changeup.
49 yards for the Lions. Well, Alfred Jackson looked like a quarterback there. This play seemed to be well read by the Bombers.
It really was. Good pursuit to the point of attack, but Alfred Jackson keeps his composure. Very surprising. If you haven't been in there trying to throw the ball with the bullets flying, can't explain it enough. I mean, he would panic. Most people would panic in this situation. He doesn't. Keeps his composure and throws a strike on the run.
So jump at the end of it to cap a 49-yard play. So Jackson's got 49 yards passing. The starting quarterback has 83 yards.
They might just have a little conference there at halftime and just say, here's how you do it. You roll out and you throw it. He said, yeah, you had an open receiver. That's what Damon Allen will tell him. I haven't had one yet.
Well, Jackson's going to say, see, don't tell me we're not open. I found a guy.
Big play for the Lions either way.
2nd and 5. BC threatening as they try to cut into a 10-point lead. A direct snap to Millington. And that didn't fool the Bombers.
Well, Joe Paopao starting to pull out all the stops now. He goes with the quick hitch and then throw from Alfred Jackson. Goes to the direct snap to Sean Millington. And Talking to Pau Pau yesterday, he told me that the Winnipeg Blue Bombers are quick at pursuit. They get and fly around to the football, and they get there in a hurry. And one way you can take advantage of pursuit is double cuts and throwing that ball out there and then throwing it again.
3rd and 3, and Troy Bailey you talked about did the job once again.
Yeah.
Forcing BC into a field goal situation. Bisaglia has missed just 2 of 30 this year in his final season. And it's 2 of 31 now. Well, number 5's been just about automatic. Makes you wonder why he's thinking of hanging it up.
After 25 years, why not another 10? Yeah, no, it is an outstanding season. He, of course, announced earlier this year that this will be his last season. They'll have a ceremony for Louis Bisaglia at the end of the year in the last game of the home season for BC against Saskatchewan. But 93% for Louis Bisaglia this year.
Let's join Steve Armitage.
Thank you, Chris. As we look at Steve Barato talk to the troops, we'll tell you that coming up at halftime, we'll feature a couple of homegrown, hometown heroes in Winnipeg. And time permitting, we'll have highlights from the first half of our CFL on CBC doubleheader. The Als and Eskimos. The Alouettes won that one, by the way, convincingly, 45-15. Guys?
Steve Barato's team has pulled to within a converted touchdown here with a minute 49 left on the clock in the first half.
Haven't taken full advantage of the breaks they've had. I'm talking mostly about the Winnipeg penalties in the Winnipeg. The 4 calls by the officials against the Bombers.
Giancola puts it in the air. And Albert Johnson. Boy, great pursuit by Levy downfield. He's been a key man on special teams for the Lions today.
He really has. He's just shooting through the gap.
He's going 3 ways.
Yeah, exactly. Well, there's 3 phases of the game: offense, defense, and special teams. And you're right, Chuck Levy is playing on all 3. Comes in on some passing downs for the Lions defensively. Goes in at running back or receiver and makes a great tackle on Albert Johnson right there.
Well, an interesting series now. See if the Bombers can expand their lead or whether the Lions can get the football back in their offense's hands before this first half is up.
Well, the Bombers have been aggressive offensively. They're throwing the football down the field, looking for Milt Stegall, and they certainly don't want to change anything up right now with a minute 43 left. If you get conservative, you give the Lions back the football with a chance to get some more momentum going in at halftime.
Seem to be adjusting the clock, and well, they made a key adjustment and put another second there for Jones to work with. Could be a valuable second either way. There's Jones, Stegall, and he ducks out at the 37, trying to reach the first down stick. 4th catch of the game for Stegall, who has a touchdown.
Milt Stegall gets open on this play because of his great speed. It's not a speed route, but you have to respect his speed. Look at the distance he had. The next defensive back, Eric Carter, was 3-4 yards away from him. When he goes down the field, all the defensive backs turn their shoulders. They're afraid of his speed.
He's got over 1,000 today. And that was bottled up. So on 2nd and 1, they didn't get the first down. Big defensive stand by the Lions.
It really was for them to come up and stop Corey Philpott, and they get it through penetration. Corey Philpott takes the football about 5 yards deep and runs right into David Benefield. Chuck Levy also involved on defense. Chuck Levy's going to be a little tired at the end of this game.
So now, with a minute 33 to go, Westwood has to punt it away. And you can feel that swing of momentum. Just got it away. That ball kicks out off the official. And that will give the Bombers bench another reason to get on the crew.
Well, it also came very close to touching Eric Carter.
Nice job, D. Here.
But I don't believe it did. goes out of bounds, and Damon Allen has plenty of time to go with the hurry up. And when he does go with no huddle offense, he calls all of his own plays. That is the time for sure that he's doing that, because during the regular offense between him and Joe Paopao, they split it. Some come from Joe Paopao up in the boot to the right of your screen. They go down to Doug Nussmeier. Nussmeier will signal them into Damon Allen. But in the hurry-up situation, it's all in the hands of Damon Allen.
They marked the ball where it went out of bounds, the 48-yard line of BC. So good field position for the Lions to get a little closer. Pump fake by Allen, and then he delivers a strike to Brett Anderson in a Winnipeg territory.
One of the things that Steve Barato said to us yesterday about his offense was the consistency of the offensive line. That's the one part that he has been happy with. Chris Perez is having a tremendous year, and on that play for Damon Allen, they created some pretty big throwing lanes for Allen. Watch Perez, 62 on Peyton. He shuts the door on him. The throwing lane is there, and Allen can step up and deliver the strike.
Tom Europe with the tackle, but it's a first down for BC. Now Allen faked that little shuttle toss and takes off himself. Down to the 43, he has 8 more.
That's an option he provides. In fact, both quarterbacks here this afternoon have the ability to get away and to run the football. Damon Allen, the legend at it. Kahari Jones, the next one.
Damon 4th all-time in CFL rushing, but only 4th among quarterbacks this season in that category. 40 seconds to go. Millington right side, broke a tackle and gets the first down.
Little second effort from Sean Millington keeps the sticks going, and now they're working against the clock. They have plenty of time with 36 seconds to run probably 5 or 6 plays. Damon Allen doesn't have to force it to the end zone just yet. Move the sticks at least 2 more times before he takes a crack at the end zone.
Interesting comment by Barato yesterday. When you've got your quarterback making the calls, he's not going to call a play he's not comfortable with.
Absolutely.
First down. Looks to the near side. Hit by Oliver. Not much there, but give him credit.
I can't believe that he even caught it. That ball looked like it was sailing to about row 3. Oliver climbed the ladder, pulled it down. Actually picks up almost 7 on the play. So
yeah.
Huge catch from Jimmy Oliver.
23 seconds to go. Worth another look.
That one looked, look at that. One-hander, kept it in there, and then dragged both feet in bounds. He only needs one. He got both.
And they go back to Oliver, who skips away from one. Down to the 20, put the ball on the carpet. But
is this another one that's going to drive Dave Ritchie mad?
Officials say the play had been stopped, and you can see the reaction from Harold Nash.
Again, it looked close to me. Jimmy Oliver kind of went in the bottom of that pile. Now, was he on the ground when he dropped the football? Ground can't make you fumble. Here, take a look at it. He gets hit right there. Hard to tell by that angle. It was very close again.
Clock running, 12 seconds remaining at the 20. First down. Allen rolling. Delivering.
Got to get out.
Anderson gets out of bounds with 2 seconds left, and they'll be in a position to get 3 points closer.
Absolutely, and you take the 3 points. No sense gambling. You take it while you're down in this area. You got to come away with points. Damon Allen again wanted Alfred Jackson in the corner. He wasn't there and had to dump the football off. Give credit so far in this first half to Jerron Bolden. See the frustration from the coaching staff. Jerron Bolden is doing a nice job on Alfred Jackson right now.
That was a long developing play too. It chewed up 11 seconds on the clock.
Well, Alfred Jackson was running the corner pattern right into the end zone. But again, he wasn't open. Damon Allen had to dump it off.
There is a measurement which really is of little consequence.
Football's the ultimate team game, Chris, but it always comes down to the one-on-one battles. And if you can win enough of the one-on-one battles, you win the game. And right now in the first half, you got to give credit to Jerron Bolden, as Damon Allen describes exactly what he wanted to see.
Well, we expected a tight fit this afternoon, and Louis Pasaglia makes it even tighter on the final play of the opening half, and now the Winnipeg Blue Bombers lead is 4. Still a lot of kinks to be worked out of that BC Lions offense today. but they've gotten closer down the stretch. Here's Steve.
Thank you, Chris. Coach, before you go to the room, a couple of quick thoughts on your team's play in that first half.
I think we're playing all right. I wish officials would get in the game. There's no way. Our youngster was in the air, and he's beyond that 40. Remember, we got penalized 5. So that should have been a play. Instead, it's a turnaround of, instead of us going in, it's 3 points for them because they get the ball there on the 39-yard line. They had to put it on the 39, or their math would have been bad. But, you know, fumble down there right now. I hope they see the game as I see it, but I don't guess they are. So
Feel like you've lost a little momentum in that first half.
Yeah, a little bit. We have lost some momentum, and we're going to have to get it back now. We were moving the ball pretty good, and then went into a lull. The defense was playing it good, and we had a couple bad things we did. We roughed the kicker. We shouldn't have done that, and then we allowed a halfback, number 7, to throw the ball down here on a flea flicker, a gimmick play. So, hey, we just have to come out and play hard football.
Dave, good luck in the second half.
Thank you very much.
Dave Ritchie and the Bombers head to the dressing room, leading the BC Lions by a score of 13-9. Our halftime, the Bombers in search of that first road win of the season, are leading the Lions 13-9. Well, Marcus Howell and Dave Donaldson are living proof that you can prosper in your hometown in the CFL. Both are key members, both are Canadians, and both are on the roster of the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. Howell and Donaldson attended the same high school in Winnipeg, but followed different routes to the CFL. Howell went to Southern Texas, Donaldson to the University of Manitoba. Howell, the speed merchant, was a draft pick. Donaldson came home after 3 years with the BC Lions.
Growing up in Winnipeg, a few blocks from the stadium, you know, I wasn't an avid football watcher, but we used to play on the street. During the Winnipeg Blue Bomber games, we'd be playing, and you can really hear the sounds of the fans. We pretend that we were catching a ball and people were cheering for us. So
in high school, I wore number 1, but on the school ground, I wore 21. James Murphy was the man here in Winnipeg, so everybody wanted to be him. So that was my idol growing up. When draft day came, the Bombers picked me. The dream come true. During camp, Coach Murphy was here helping us with the routes and everything, and you know, you can't ask for anything better than that.
I signed as a free agent out of college to BC. I wasn't drafted. 3 years later, I knew I was going to come home and play in Winnipeg. As soon as I became a free agent, that's where I wanted to be. I wanted to play in front of my hometown fans, my friends. You know, no money in the world is priceless, you know. My mom doesn't know much about football or sports for that matter, but she's always out there watching, making sure I don't get hurt. If she only knew that I was playing all sides of the ball and special teams, she'd probably lose her mind. But she just sees a number 2 running up and down the field. And I love the fact that she's out there.
His speed, honed while running track at Southern Texas, has helped Howell as a receiver and kick returner.
Each week I learn from, I see a new corner each week. I go against great corners in practice. You know, the coaching is great, so each week I get better and I get a little more confidence, and you know, eventually they're not going to be able to hold me.
To play special teams, that's the most important aspect of the game. To go down the field and make tackles, and then go and play defense, go down and make more tackles, and then go play offense. You know, that's physically trying.
2 Canadians playing key roles have won the respect of the man who counts, Bombers head coach Dave Ritchie.
The biggest challenge for me right now is walking out in the field and making sure that I produce for myself, my family, and the fans. So every week, game day, I have to keep that in mind before I play.
My mother and her boyfriend will be in the same seats every game, so I know where they are. The other family members got season tickets all over the place, so it's great to know that wherever I score a touchdown, there'll be somebody there to throw the ball to.
Howell, Donaldson, and the entire Blue Bomber team playing well here at BC Place Stadium this afternoon. They lead the Lions at the half by a score of 13-9. Back in a moment. Stadium in Vancouver, Troy Westwood with a couple, Louis Pasaglia with 3, accounting for most of the scoring in that first half, as Winnipeg in search of their first road win of the season
head into the dressing room, leading the BC Lions by a count of 13-9. The only major scoring in that first half, Jones to Milt Stegall, his 11th touchdown of the season, and that was perhaps the most exciting and certainly the most entertaining play, besides a couple of controversial calls on the part of the officials working this game this afternoon. Now let's go up and join Chris and Glenn.
Well, Steve, even though it's Thanksgiving Day, you're probably not going to hear Dave Ritchie say anything awfully nice about the officials, and certainly not after that first half. Some interesting comments from the coach, who probably had a case.
Yeah, and I saw 3 bad calls in the first half. Officials did not have a good half of football. This one is very close. Early in the game, in fact, the first drive, Albert Johnson, did he have a touchdown? Looked like he had possession in the end zone. It went for the BC Lions. Then later in the game, this one went against BC. An offside call on Eric Carter. Looked like he was a whole yard and a half, was intercepted by Herman Smith, given back to Winnipeg, and then the big one. Onside kick after a penalty against the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. Harold Nash is clearly 10 yards down the field when he grabs the football and then runs it all the way down to the 30-yard line of the BC Lions, given back to BC on a very bad call.
Bombers' big play offensively was to Milt Stegall, who has been the big play man all season long, but neither offense really got untracked.
No, and I think if you're the BC defense, you got to take away Milt Stegall in the second half, and you got to get Sean Millington involved for the Lions offensively.
Want to get back to that short kickoff by the Bombers, because you saw Harold Nash ends up at the BC 32. Instead, it's BC ball at the Winnipeg 39, and that's when they started to at least get back in the game.
Yeah, it was clearly a bad call by the officials. They couldn't overturn it, even though it seemed like they were talking about it for a long time and looking back over at the play. Couldn't overturn it, gave it back to the Lions. It was a huge momentum switch. Let's see if the Lions can take advantage in the second half.
What kind of adjustments might you see? BC really never established the running game like we thought they might.
Yeah, I think you got to go with Sean Millington running the football. Alfred Jackson and Jerron Bolden is a matchup we're watching very closely in this first half, and right now Jerron Bolden is winning the battle. Go back to what got you there, and that's Sean Millington.
Bombers in pursuit of their first road victory of the season, and that 4-point lead awfully precarious. What might they try different?
Well, I think all they really have to do is do what they've been doing in the first half. I think Kahari Jones has looked very good throwing the football. They've got the ball down the field. They just have to put those distractions away and get them out of their mind. I'm talking about the poor officiating. Get past that happened against them in the first half and just move on and play ball.
So, 4-point game as we head to the second half. The BC Lions down 13-9 as we get set for the second. Welcome back under the dome in Vancouver, where the Winnipeg Blue Bombers have a 13-9 halftime lead. Damon Allen frustrated on more than a few occasions in that first half. Seemed to be out of sync with his receivers. Let's find out what Steve Barato had to say in conversation with Steve Armitage.
Steve Barato, it looked like you had momentum going for you as you went to the room. What do you have to do to keep it going?
Well, we're going to have to complete some passes and get away from them. They're playing a lot of man coverage early in the game. They did a great job of covering us, and we weren't getting anybody open. We found a couple guys. We're going to have to do a little bit better job of blocking the edge on our run game. They're coming down there and getting us. The defense came out big a couple times when they had the ball in a bad field position, and they got the one touchdown to Stegall, but he's going to get one on you. We've got to protect the football. We started out by giving them 3.
Might we see more of a running game out of the Lions in the second half?
We'd like to run the ball a little bit more so that we can push them back off the ball and get a little time to throw it.
Coach, good luck.
Thank you.
So Steve Barato trying to end a 2-game losing streak that has been a pair of frustrating tight losses. And of course, we've mentioned the Bombers, still the last team looking for a road win this year. There are the numbers in the first half.
Now the Lions started to get some of those numbers throwing the football late in the first half, but like Steve Barato mentioned, you got to give credit to that Bomber secondary, which really has covered down the Lion receivers and handcuffed Damon Allen. Did in the first half. Got to get them open and give the ball to Sean Millington a little bit more.
That was a quiet 171 yards passing by the Lions, but remember, 49 by Alfred Jackson.
That's right.
Damon Allen with 10 completions in the first half, hits 3,500 in his CFL career. And he is now 1,178 yards short of Ron Lancaster's all-time Canadian Football League mark. Dan Giancola has it on the tee And again, we can't stress enough how big this game is for both teams, with playoff implications and only 4 games to go after this for both. Here is Albert Johnson III, and he nearly sprung another.
Dan Giancola, the last guy back, knocks Albert Johnson out of bounds. Kickoff returns on the season, 1,121 yards coming in to this game. It's a lot of yardage. Now, it also means you're returning a lot of kicks, which isn't good news, but Chuck Levy's been their best special teams player, the BC Lions, here this afternoon, and he's shaken up. Looked like he's favoring the left knee. Trying to hobble off with the help of Terrace and Harden. And as we have mentioned today, he has seen action on all sides of the football, offense, defense, and a key man on special teams. Well, it's interesting to see now if the BC Lions defensively change things up on Milt Stegall. And as it looks to me right now, they're going with the one-on-one on Derek Lewis again.
Harry Jones to pass.
Yep.
And there is Stegall. Wrapped up. Jason Kralt brought him down. Stegall should have enough for a first down, pending the placement of the football.
Derek Lewis has 3 interceptions coming into this game and has played well at halfback for the Lions. But I don't care if you're an all-star halfback, you're going to have problems with Milt Stegall if you're left by yourself all game long. And between Derek Lewis and Carl Kidd in his first game, they've been taking turns, and neither have done a real good job against Stegall yet today.
3 multi-touchdown games for Stegall this year. Got 10 and a first down on that first play. A pass in the flat, incomplete, intended for Geroy Simon. Stegall awfully close to the other receiver.
And that's what both quarterbacks have done here this afternoon. Damon Allen with a pretty good completion percentage, as is Kahari Jones. Kahari Jones seems to be pushing the ball down the field more effectively than Allen, and you heard Barato say that Allen needs some help from his supporting cast.
Kahari Jones has tossed his 19th touchdown pass of the year, evening his record to balance 19 interceptions. 2nd and 10, and there's some trouble for Jones to get out of. Looking downfield, jump ball, and it's knocked down. Derek Lewis battling Bobby Gordon.
That'll go down in the book as a long incompletion by the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, but on film tomorrow, Derek Lewis will get a minus. You get a plus or a minus. A plus for a good play, minus if you mess up, and Derek Lewis got caught way short. Robert Gordon was about 5 yards open, and because Kahari Jones was running to his left and trying to throw back, it gave Derek Lewis a chance to catch up, because it ended up in a jump ball. And watch the frustration of Robert Gordon. He goes to kick it afterwards simply because he was so wide open initially.
3rd down, and Troy Westwood will attempt a 54-yard field goal. Again, he's hit from 56 this year. And he's got it. 54 yards, and he didn't have much to spare.
Another field goal from the Blue Bombers, Troy Westwood, and Winnipeg leads 16-9. In the East this afternoon, it was all Mike Pringle and the Alouettes. When you've got this guy in the backfield and you're this close to the goal line, just give it to Mike Pringle. 4 touchdowns for Pringle. He was the MVP a couple of years ago. The season he's having now, he could be the MVP again for the Alouettes. Easy, 45-15 winners over the Eskimos. Montreal moving into first place in the East in front of Hamilton. Guys?
18 touchdowns on the year for Mike Pringle as Damon Allen goes downfield, incomplete. Looking for Robert Drummond, a former running mate of Mike Pringle's in Baltimore.
Yeah, and you know, a lot of people are talking about right now Dave Dickinson as a front runner for most valuable player in the league out of Calgary, but hey, yeah, a lot of votes have got to go to Mike Pringle, who's having another outstanding year.
Just want to have another look at this field goal because Troy Westwood didn't have much extra.
That is like inches over the bar. You can see, by the way, Mike Fletcher standing right under that crossbar. just dropped over.
So one over the bar, one off the upright. It's been a pretty good day for Westwood. Damon Allen gets out of trouble, and Robert Drummond starts to run up to midfield.
Look at Damon Allen creating something out of nothing. He can still get it done. Very tough to get a solid hit on Damon Allen. He's like the Wayne Gretzky of football. Because Damon Allen is tough to hit. See, watch him slide right there to the outside and then just flip that ball out to Robert Drummond to create something. Like the old days when you're a kid playing in the parking lot.
20 yards. Allen to Drummond. 37 years of age. It really doesn't appear as if he's slowed down a step. Looked right now over the middle. There's Alfred Jackson. And a catch inside the 35.
Well, that was against his own defense, and Damon Allen made the play by looking to his right first. When he looked to his right first, he froze the coverage. They were all backing up, and as soon watch Damon Allen take the football, look to his right there, and then go back over the middle to Alfred Jackson. When he looked to his right, everyone froze for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, and that gave Jackson just a little bit of room.
23 yards on that play, so the Lions got something going. Now Allen steps up. Down to the 24. Antonio Armstrong with the tackle.
Exactly what I was going to say, Chris. That is, I can't emphasize enough how big of a tackle that is. When you have one-on-one with number 9 for the BC Lions, you get him on the ground, that's a huge tackle. Damon Allen has made many great linebackers miss in the open field.
Allen got 8 more, and it's 2nd and 2. A lot of options here for this Lions offense.
They have thrown out of this formation.
This time they'll hand it off. Drummond gets outside. There is a flag down. Drummond's got the first. But a penalty marker in the Lions backfield. And again, we talked about lack of production in deep for Steve Barato's team, and one of the problems has been untimely penalties.
League of procedure, BC, number 66, second down repeated.
Yeah, in fact, Barato, that's exactly what he said to us. He said, you know, we get down inside the 25-yard line and we get an offside. At the exactly wrong time, we get that offside legal procedure penalty. That backs us up, puts us in the 2nd and long situation. And that's exactly what happened to him again here.
2nd and 2 becomes 2nd and 7. Bob Beveridge called. He is the newest BC Lion. Released by Hamilton and just picked up. In on that jumbo team. So Allen's got to go to the air. And Brett Anderson drops the ball. Nobody around, and he was thinking about the run before he made the catch.
Absolutely, and again, it's a lack of concentration, the little things. Talk about an illegal procedure call to put you in a passing situation, and then you have a wide open Brett Anderson, throw a perfect strike to him, and Brett Anderson fundamentally makes a little bit of a breakdown, peeks down the field to where he's going to run, and by the way, he peeked to about 10-15 yards of open field that he could have run in, and drops the football.
We just saw a microcosm of the BC Lions season on that last drive. A couple of big plays, getting them down into scoring position. Now they got to settle for a Passaglia field goal, and they had trouble getting that placement down. Look out! Albert Johnson may have given the ball back.
Well, he just got it out. He was the last one to touch it, but that was close.
Apparently he did just corral it back away from Jason Kralt. Bombers backed up, but they still own a 7-point lead.
Bit of a high snap to Doug Nussmeier is the problem. He has to get up out of his stance to get this down. I believe he had his hand still on the football when Passaglia hit it. And then at the other end of it, Albert Johnson fumbles around with it and just hangs on right on the sideline. The Lions very nearly recovered the football on the 3-yard line going in.
So the Bombers have the ball, but a bit of a problem here. Just over 5 minutes into the third quarter. Corey Philpott, little breathing room, up to the 15. Big gain by Philpott.
Well, it takes a little pressure off Kahari Jones. He doesn't have to, if he has to pass, drop back into his own end zone. because had Corey Philpott not picked up any yards on the play, he's got to drop back and pass out of his end zone. But a good game by Philpott gives him a little breathing room. It was right around here last year against the Lions that Milt Stegall went about 99 yards for a touchdown.
Down again, Philpott has 4 more. Just thinking about Mike Pringle with 18 touchdowns, 4 games to go. Philpott with 22 in 1995.
Mike Pringle seems to gain momentum this time of year when the weather starts to get a little colder. That's when it's Pringle time, and Corey Philpott getting some tough yards in the middle. First down of this series, picked up 10 yards, a little easier than that 3 or 4 he got on that run.
2nd and 6. Here's Stegall. Glenn, you called it. And Stegall lost some yards trying to find that one last seam to the end zone.
It really amazes me that he's not drawing some more attention from the BC defense. And yes, you have to have confidence that your players can cover, but it's tough when you got the abilities of Milt Stegall. And you can see that he slips in behind the zone coverage. Central McClellan not spending enough attention to get over there and enough time to get over there, and Stegall gets him way out of trouble. There's the jam by Derek Lewis. Now he slides. That's not his man. It's not his zone. There it is right there, 34. Central McClellan has got to get over there in a hurry.
6th 100-yard game of the year. First down, Kahari Jones. Another strike. Bo Lewis wraps up his man. And Stegall's got another catch.
You know, in your safety, even if you're in man-to-man and you're free in the middle, Central McClellan usually is, and you know that Milt Stegall has been the hot receiver, go favor him. You can go and tell Derek Lewis, you can just say to him, listen, I'm going to take anything inside, you take anything deep and outside. Right now, he's playing it straight up, and Milt Stegall's having his way.
McClellan, a former Ohio State Buckeye, safety on a team that was the #1 rated defensive team in the NCAA. Kahari Jones pitching strikes, and Robert Gordon has a Bomber first down.
Well, this could be the backbreaker for the BC Lions when you think of where the Winnipeg Blue Bombers started this drive. Eric England is slow to get up for the Lions. You start out on the 3-yard line, Philpott gives you breathing room, and then now it's been all Kahari Jones.
England clutching at that right knee. Well, whatever adjustments the Bombers made at halftime, they're starting to exploit their strengths, and that's the 1-2 punch of Stegall and Gordon.
Well, yeah, and I think, you know, if you're Dave Ritchie, you probably went in there at a halftime and you said, listen, they're going to make adjustments.
Let's take a look at what happened to England.
He's right down at the bottom of your screen, right down in here, and just take a look. Cut block from the tackle was right onto the knee of Eric England, and it looked like his foot got stuck in the turf and didn't give away.
That'll bring Cameron Legault into the game. Another former Carleton Raven joins teammate Jason Kralt in the defensive formation. A couple of ex-Carleton players. He just claimed off the Calgary practice roster.
You know, and when you go into backups on your front four, defensive coordinators have a tendency to blitz more.
We should mention that the Lions, without Noah Cantor today, their starting defensive tackle. There's Philpott, 3 more. Cantor honoring Yom Kippur today and not in the lineup for BC.
And he's been one of their most consistent D linemen. So now you go with the backup with Eric England out of there and look to the Lions to blitz more, which you know what that means. It puts Milt Stegall in more one-on-one.
Our crack statistician Dave Moyer pointing out today that Mike Pringle tied Corey Philpott's rushing record of 18 touchdowns. on the ground today in that 4-touchdown performance against Edmonton. Under 6 minutes to go in the third quarter here. Another quick hitter, and Robert Gordon can't pull in the pass thrown behind him.
Troy Westwood's had a little luck on his side. He'll come back on the field in this first half. A little bit behind Robert Gordon on the play. Milt Stegall was almost offside to the field side. Quick 3-step drop by Kahari Jones. Catchable ball, though, for Robert Gordon, especially with the season he's having.
Makes it 3rd and 6. And they'll set up at another 49-yarder. And Troy Westwood is having quite a day. Expanding the lead to 10 points here in the third quarter.
In the first half, he was throwing helmets. Now he's on the training table getting his ankle looked at. Bill Rochelle told me they'll probably tape it up. He twisted it, got it clipped. Suits, maybe you can show us how it happened.
Exactly. It was Dave Mudge. After this play, we'll show you one more time just what happened to Eric England.
Lions start from their own 35-yard line. Allen rolling. Stopped up before the line of scrimmage, and as a completion across the 50-yard line to Donnie Blair.
Eric England looked like he got his foot jammed in the turf a couple of plays back. It was off the edge right here, and you're going to see Dave Mudge is going to slide out and cut block on Eric England, and watch his foot get stuck in the turf right there before it bounces out behind him, and that's why they're going to have to tape it up and try and get him back in later.
16 yards for Blair, first down, and they give inside to Sean Millington, and he displays some of that awesome power as he gets down to the Winnipeg 50. 9 for Millington.
Well, here's the other thing that Millington brings you. Not just the running ability, not just the yardage that he accumulates, but this is the inspirational side of it. This is the intangible. When teammates see Millington break 4 tackles and fight for an extra half a yard, it gets everybody fired up. It gets you momentum, even though it's only an 8-yard gain.
He had 120 yards the first time he met Winnipeg. Only one of 2 to get 100-yard rushing games against the Bombers this year. Drummond cuts back. Look out. Oh, boy. Bolden doesn't make that tackle. Drummond's dancing in the end zone.
Yeah, play the fight song if he doesn't. Jerome Bolden having himself a game. Really kept Alfred Jackson off the score sheet and then made a key tackle there as Robert Drummond cuts all the way back, and Bolden goes from the right side of your screen. He was right up on the line of scrimmage, but doesn't give up on the play. He doesn't rely on his teammates to make the play. He thinks, well, I got to come over and help, and he stops Drummond from what would have been a huge game, if not a touchdown.
The only other player with a 100-yard rushing game this year against Winnipeg, Ronald Williams of Hamilton. The Bombers didn't allow 100 yards for Mike Pringle in 3 outings so far. Allen scrambling and getting close to another first down. So Glenn, again in the second half, the Lions are amassing yardage. Can they put some points on the board?
And this is right in the area where the red zone, or like the Lions like to call it, the green zone, begins. It's right about the 30-yard line going in. Now the Lions on the 33, close enough. This is where you got to come away with the major if you're the BC Lions. And like you mentioned, Damon Allen using his legs to pick up yardage on that play. But now it's crucial time, and now this is where the Lions, like we've mentioned, have lacked concentration.
Might be almost a free down here, 2nd and 1. Drummond again cuts it back. Thought about going outside, has the first down.
And if he went outside, he would have had to have lost about 2 yards to get the corner, and that might have lost the first down. So wise decision by Drummond. Rather than take it to the outside and try and get outside containment there, he decides wisely to cut it up in there and make sure he has the first down at the very least.
And the Lions now using Millington and Drummond more in tandem than we saw in the first half.
And now if Damon Allen wants to go with play action, the Bombers have to respect it simply because they're involved again.
1st and 10, late stages, third quarter. Open man, Robert Drummond down inside the 10.
And he took a hit.
Tom Europe.
Oh, he took a big hit and he hung on. Tom Europe is having his best year. And that's saying something, because Tom Europe was part of a secondary in BC back in '94 that Dave Ritchie called the best he's ever had, and had a good year then. But this has been Tom Europe's best year. He came into camp on a mission. He was hitting everybody, anything that moved in training camp, and he puts a great smack on Robert Drummond. But give the veteran Drummond credit, he hung on to the football.
And Europe coming off what Dave Ritchie called his best game last week against Saskatchewan, a game he said that their secondary was nasty, and Europe was the man delivering most of the punishing hits.
Well, he has a season-high 4 interceptions coming into this game, and is really back in the good books as far as Dave Ritchie is concerned. And that wasn't the case going into training camp. But, boy, full credit to Robert Drummond, because, you know, that's what coaches will tell receivers going down the middle of that field, where it's like a minefield. They'll say, listen, you're going to get hit anyway. You might as well hang on to the football, and Drummond does that.
And Drummond, an imposing physical specimen himself at 6'3", 215. But you don't usually get that good a piece of him.
And he's woozy, and because he got hit in the back of the head. And look, he's just trying to get to the sideline now. He's got hit right in the back of the head. And watch the contact by the heat-seeking missile, Tom Europe. But either way the Lions look at it, it's first down.
20-yard catch by Drummond. An impressive drive, 69 yards. But this is key real estate now. Allen, short drop. Looks into the end zone, knocked down.
Dave Donaldson
again. That's 2 knockdowns in the end zone for the Winnipeg native today.
Dave Donaldson, throughout his career, which spent a lot of time here in the BC Lions, has never had a chance to have one position that he can have as his starting position. He's played both ways. We talked about it earlier, and he's never been able to settle in. Dave Ritchie gave him that opportunity this year, and he made him a halfback. He thinks he's like a lot like Daryl Sampson, which was one of the great halfbacks in the past for Winnipeg Blue Bombers.
2nd and goal for the Lions. Here comes the rush. Wickman trying to track down Allen into the end zone, and it's tipped away. And there's Jerron Bowman again.
Oh, yeah, he's doing that quiet signal. He's like, yeah, Alfred Jackson's having a quiet game, isn't he? Well, it's plays like that, and Alfred Jackson does shake him loose, but Damon Allen just doesn't put it out in front of Jackson enough. He's, of course, running all the way to his right and having to throw across the field, which is difficult. But the makeup time and the closing speed from Jerron Bolden eliminates the play.
The much maligned Winnipeg secondary coming up big so far this afternoon. Forcing Pasaglia into a field goal. And with 1:33 remaining in the 3rd quarter, it's a 7-point Bomber lead. Well, once again, the BC Lions move the football, but settle for a field goal. 4 field goals in the game for BC, and that's why Steve Barato's team isn't closer to the top of the standings in the West Division, where they were expected to be this year.
Yeah, and expectations are a scary thing. And coming into this year, when you consider the Lions were a play away from possibly getting to the Grey Cup last year, even they had high expectations of their own abilities, and certainly haven't played that way throughout the season, and it's been consistent. At times, they've looked like Grey Cup contenders. At times, they've looked like last place cellar dwellers.
13-5 a year ago. Albert Johnson ripped up near the 35-yard line. 16 on the return.
You know, the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, on the other hand, as well as they've looked like they've played here this afternoon, they have not buried the Lions, and that could come back to hurt them as this game progresses. Kahari Jones has looked good in the middle of the field as well, and they haven't buried him. Now, they've had some calls go against them, no question about it, in the first half. But the Lions are hanging around. I don't think they've played as well as Winnipeg, but they're hanging around.
A week ago in Edmonton, The Lions erased an 18-point deficit to force overtime. Eric England checks back in on the Lions defensive line. Harry Jones going to air it out, looking for Johnson over the shoulder. Nice catch.
What a catch. What a catch. And he made it look easy. That may be the most difficult catch a receiver ever has to make. Kahari Jones is going to have pressure in his face and throws it up and over where only Albert Johnson can catch it. And then Albert Johnson, this is the most difficult catch a receiver can make. Up over his shoulder to the opposite side. Oh, there's a Rookie of the Year candidate.
First catch of the game. It's a 35-yarder, and it puts the Bombers in business at the BC 40. Corey Philpott nailed as he crossed the line of scrimmage. Marv Thomas was waiting.
And this is where we talk about the Winnipeg Blue Bombers capitalizing on their opportunities, a chance to, you know, put another nail in it for against the BC Lions. They're down here getting close to scoring range. You know, and right now they've been settling for long Troy Westwood field goals.
It'll be 2nd and 9. It's like almost a full 10. Flag down. Jones the out. Gordon couldn't reach it. We'll find out what the flag's all about.
It'll be an interesting decision if it is against the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. No, and I don't think it will be. 12 white shirts pointed the
Offside.
other way.
BC number 23. 2nd down, repeat it.
And Chuck Levy in as the extra defensive back. He is right in the middle of your screen and jumps off. There he is right there. Jumps offside, gets inside that 1-yard area and can't get back in time.
And all over the field, and in that case, too far over the line. It gives Winnipeg another down to work with. 2nd and 5. Harry Jones had to pull it down. Now can he scramble outside? Running for the stick, and he got there.
Oh.
And the hurdle at the end of it to move the sticks on the final play. And that offside call by the Lions results in a extra set of downs for Winnipeg here as we start the 4th quarter. Bombers.
Welcome back to BC Place Stadium. The Bombers lead the Lions 19-12. The story on Robert Drummond is this: he has a bruised shoulder, right shoulder. He'll be back in the game, but he won't play special teams for the Lions. Guys,
that's if all the cobwebs get cleared out.
Well, yeah. Well, the Lions again with the edge in yardage. Identical time of possession. Bombers moving the ball. Neither team able to put majors on the board when they've been in scoring position.
The only turnover was on the opening kickoff of the game. A fumble by the Lions, resulting in an early field goal by the Bombers. They've led all the way and are trying to increase a 7-point advantage. 1st and 10 at the BC 30. Fake to Philpott. They'll go long, looking for Stiegel in the end zone. Touchdown. Milt Stiegel has done it again.
Well, unbelievable that he doesn't get more attention. Central McClellan again was late getting over to help Derek Lewis. Now, how long did they work on that?
They have spent some time on it.
That was perfect timing on the dance.
And they've got to do it 12 times this year. That's how many times Stiegel's got into the end zone.
See the safety holding his ground there? That ball is a seam pass. And now Central McClellan, number 34, he's 3-4 yards away from helping Derek Lewis. And I've said it many times, don't leave a guy in one-on-one on Milt Stiegel all game.
It's the 4th multi-touchdown game of the year for Stiegel. And let's not forget Kahari Jones, who was on the money there as he was on that great pass to Albert Johnson earlier in the drive.
Yeah, it was a very good throw to the outside where really only Stiegel had a crack at it. Now Derek Lewis was covering him about as close as he could. Stiegel won the battle. The ball is perfectly thrown on the play action, up and over. It gets to the outside. Now Stiegel is really the only crack at it between the two of them, between Derek Lewis. He's covering it as well as he can. He's expecting help from 34, Central McClellan. Didn't get it.
Well, it has been a showcase day in the East for the premier running back in the league, and in the West for arguably the best receiver in the Canadian Football League.
Yeah, you know, there's a bunch of good, a couple in Calgary, but boy, it'd be tough to argue against the fact that Milt Stiegel is the best.
And the Lions haven't figured out a way to stop him. 146 yards today. He had 158 yards in the last meeting against BC, including an 86-yard touchdown, and he had a 67-yarder called back in that game. So they have not been able to find a way to muzzle Milt Stiegel. Bombers' first win of the year after 4 opening losses was against BC. And they are now 14-24 away from posting their first road win of the year, also against the BC Lions. A 14-point lead. Chuck Levy, pretty good run back, and then cut down at the 35.
Well, it's really gut check time for the BC Lions right now. I mean, this is, you know, a lot of their season is riding, I think, on the next 14 minutes and 19 seconds. Well, now this is a key injury. If, in fact, Jerome Bolden, who's lying on the turf right now, cannot continue. And he looks like he's holding that right knee. He has been in a matchup all game long with Alfred Jackson, and has done a tremendous job of taking Alfred Jackson, which really was Damon Allen's game plan, out of the game.
Let's find out what happened.
And it usually happens on special teams. He's the guy who makes the tackle, turns around, and it looks like his knee got caught underneath him. Tough to see. Possibly twisted when he was down there, but that's what they're checking, his right knee.
But you've been keeping score today, and Bolden's scorecard looks pretty good.
Absolutely, against a very good receiver in Alfred Jackson. I felt that Alfred Jackson has played his best football the last 3 games and was really a big part of this game plan. But Jerome Bolden has eliminated him. This definitely not. He's already got the brace on that right knee, which is amazing in itself. There's not many DBs that can play as well as he had this afternoon with a knee brace on.
He's starting to walk off, obviously in pain, but under his own power, which is encouraging. Now, you talked about the significance of this last 14 minutes for BC. They're just 2 points ahead of Saskatchewan. They've got a pair of games against the Rough Riders remaining on the schedule. And as we have seen in the last few weeks, Glenn, no easy games left on the schedule. This is maybe as competitive as this league's been in a long time, from 1 to 8, now that the Argos appear to have their act together.
Well, they're still in the fight. And yeah, when you talk about BC, got Saskatchewan twice, Calgary and Hamilton to finish the year.
Well, we'll see if Damon Allen has filed the Bolden injury into his play calling for this drive. They have to come from behind as they did last week in Edmonton. Sean Millington will get them off to a decent start with a first down up near the 49.
And it's a good start, a positive start for Damon Allen. And blocks are made by Dan Payne and Jamie Terrace at the point of attack. That's who he's been throwing it to. Alfred Jackson, just 2 catches. Coming in, that's the guy they wanted to get the football to. Credit Jerome Bolden, who's not in the game right now.
It's almost as if the wealth of talent in BC has caused its own share of problems. Here's Donnie Blair at midfield with a catch, because BC really has never established, this season anyway, a go-to guy.
Well, and you have a group of guys that all want to be the go-to guy, but football teams and successful ones, you have to have role players. I truly believe that. And if you have a group of star players, someone has to step up and become a role player. Be unselfish. And they've had trouble finding those guys in this lineup.
Second down, give Millington, and the power back drives for 5 and moves the sticks.
Rio Wells has come into the football game for Jerron Bolden as they attend to him on the sideline. But what Rio Wells is doing is playing the corner, and he's playing out there every down. So the Winnipeg defense will now go into more of a vanilla type of defense, play more zone and stay out of man-to-man with Bolden on the sideline.
First and 10 from the Winnipeg 50. Allen pumps, he's looking deep, he's got Donnie Blair! Touchdown BC!
One player can make such a big difference, can it?
How many times have we seen Damon Allen with that patent pump fake to spring a receiver deep?
He gets Brandon Hamilton to bite on the pump fake, and Brandon Hamilton, a 7-year veteran, knows better. Donnie Blair gets in behind him. The ball is right in stride, and Blair gets the BC Lions back in this football game. Watch that pump fake you talked about. There's the pump fake. That's the one that Brandon Hamilton bites on, and that's why you see number 3 5 yards behind Don Blair.
50-yard touchdown. Don Blair's 4th of the season. And the Lions get right back in it. Biggest play of the year for Don Blair, 50 yards, his 3rd touchdown in 2 weeks, and the Lions within 7.
Yeah, Don Blair is coming off a big game last week versus Edmonton. Seems to be getting back on track.
Giancola kicks it off. This Bomber road victory won't come easily. 12:27 to go, so a lot of time left on the clock.
What a difference one player makes. When Jerron Bolden went out of the game, the BC Lions saw a completely different defensive set that they've seen all game long, and Damon Allen takes quick advantage of it. The Winnipeg Blue Bombers completely changed their philosophy when Jerron Bolden left the game. And that was the result of it. Don Blair in the end zone to get the BC Lions back in it.
You know, Damon Allen in 3rd in the league in passing yardage, but only his 15th touchdown pass of the year. Hasn't had more than 2 in a game all season long. Now the Lions defense will try and stoke up, and they've got Kahari Jones, but a penalty marker on the field.
Well, I mentioned when Jerron Bolden was in the game versus Hamilton, he took Archie Amerson out and then got hurt. Winnipeg ended up losing that football game, and it was a big part of why. Now the Lions obviously are pumped up. Their defense takes some momentum.
Holding, Winnipeg, 64, decline, 2nd down.
Gary Sawatsky called on the hold.
Now the defense has that momentum. Dave Ritchie has seen a little deja vu here.
Marv Thomas with the sack. 5th of the year. 2nd and 18.
Where's Stiegel? He's in the backfield right now.
Mike Fletcher showing blitz. He backs off. Kahari Jones, Robert Gordon. What a timing play that was, and a 1st down.
You know, in that time, there was a ton of concern over Milt Stiegel. In fact, the whole defense shifted. Watch how they shift to this side of the field, and when they do, where does Kahari Jones go? He goes back to the isolation on the backside on Raphael Ball.
They needed 18. They got 19. And that's not a bad second choice.
No, and that's a veteran receiver going a yard longer than he needed for the 1st down.
He made his cut, and the ball was there. Philpott. And he drives across the 50. Corey Philpott close to 5 with Cameron Legault hanging off him.
You know, Corey Philpott hasn't had the huge game, but he's been a big factor. We talked about him being important coming in, but just 54 yards. It's not huge numbers, but 14 rushes keeps that defensive line honest for the BC Lions. And you think back to when Winnipeg was backed up on their 3, it was Corey Philpott that sprung it.
89 yards last week against Saskatchewan. He had a 76-yard day against Montreal 3 weeks ago. So not spectacular, but solid. Here's a pass, look out, picked off. Or is it? Stiegel got it back.
I think he picked it off and and fumble it is the question. Central McClellan was caught in man-to-man and actually played it perfectly, cut underneath Stiegel. And they're going to talk about it right now. Did he intercept the pass and then fumble the ball?
I think he stole it, ripped it right out of McClellan's hands.
Well, either way, it's Winnipeg's first down. Either he caught it and took it from McClellan, or McClellan fumbled it and Stiegel recovered it.
You wonder, is that a catch or a fumble recovery? Take another look.
Well, here it is to the outside. McClellan cuts underneath. He has a football there, and I think Stiegel rips it out. Does it touch the ground?
Oh, you're right. There it comes loose there. And the Lions.
I don't know. Was he down?
He looks down.
Yeah. Like he still has the football right there. Here's a great angle, and the ground made him fumble by the looks of it.
That's clearly.
That is the fourth bad call of this football game.
They're evening out now. Khari Jones, free play downfield. He's got a man. And the Bombers have Robert Gordon inside the 15.
Well, they've been key plays, the missed calls by the official. Robert Gordon taking advantage of some momentum gained by a bad call by the official. It looked like Central McClellan was on the ground. Look at back to this. Here's Robert Gordon on the catch down the seam. That's taking advantage of that, what looked like wasn't a fumble from Central McClellan that the Bombers took advantage of.
Robert Gordon, 5 catches, 92 yards, so the Bombers close to having 2 100-yard receivers on the day. Philpott, big hole, touchdown. Corey Philpott, the former Lion, gets into the BC end zone. And the Bombers finish a drive tainted by a bad call, but they've gone both ways today.
They have, and it was a bad call that was very close. It was one of those things that, you know, you hit the ground, the ball comes out almost simultaneously. It's a difficult call by the official, but you have to go back to it. Central McClellan has possession of the football. Right there, you can see it clearly. He goes down, the ball comes out after his elbow hits the turf. The ground cannot make you fumble. That would have caused Winnipeg to punt right there. They didn't, and the result is a touchdown for the Bombers.
Extra point added by Troy Westwood. What a sweet return to BC. It's turning out to be for Corey Philpott. Cautiously, but we could be in for a wild shootout because there's still 9:13 to go. 6 plays, 75 yards, and Corey Philpott caps the drive and restores a 2-touchdown lead for the Blue Bombers. But a lot of time left. Here's Fletcher. Up across the 35. We've got a wrestling match going on. Quickly separated, nothing serious, but Corey Philpott, who was, of course, a former Lion and released earlier in the year by the Bombers, has come back and become a huge factor.
Yeah, Gary Schwatzky gets the mismatch right there. He weighs 300 pounds. The guy he's blocking, Mike Fletcher, 100 pounds less. He opens that hole. Corey Philpott takes advantage of it. Number 6, Fletcher steps up, and 100 pounds outweighed. He kind of gets pushed out of the way, and here comes Corey Philpott, untouched into the end zone.
68 yards for Philpott. Father of twins. Jerron Bolden back in the game. Here's Oliver. Sidestepping a couple of tackles, and then met by the Bombers secondary.
Looks like he got back up to first down territory because he made a couple of moves and lost about 3 yards. And there's Jerron Bolden back in the game, fighting through obvious pain to continue to play because they're a different defense without him.
And it looks like that knee has been tweaked again.
Yeah, it was a gallant effort, but the first play back, he goes right back and has to make the tackle. And he has to go out for 3 plays as soon as the training staff comes on the field, and here they come. And remember, the last time he went out, 3 plays later, the Lions were in the end zone.
Well, he certainly has stiffened the Bombers' defense today. When you look at the Blue Bombers' season, the reason they're winless on the road has been their defensive woes away from home. They have averaged 41 points against per game on the road this year. In fact, the fewest points allowed, 37. So they've done the job defensively today so far. But can they get it done without Bolden?
That's right. You know, more than anything, the philosophy is now back to vanilla. And Jerron Bolden, the key was that he matched up on Alfred Jackson. They played a ton of man-to-man. They kept everyone else up in the tackle box to stop Sean Millington. That has to change now. And here's a look at how he re-injured that knee, having to make the tackle right there on Jimmy Oliver. He's at the bottom of that pile, 21.
Well, he returned once.
And the way he was kind of grabbing those shoulder pads and loosening things up, I don't want to speculate, but that just may be it for him today.
Doesn't look like the expression of a guy getting ready to come back in 3 plays. He's had quite an afternoon. So it's a first down for BC. Allen in trouble, shakes off the Brian Clark tackle, and then throws downfield into the Lions bench, incomplete, but he did a good job of avoiding the sack.
Boy, did he ever, and by the time he had spun around, he was looking at around a 20-yard loss. So he just had to get that over. And remember, the rule in the league is if you throw the football across the line of scrimmage, it's not intentionally grounding. There does not have to be a player near the ball, even though I believe Alfred Jackson was semi-close to that throw.
2nd and 10, under 8 minutes to go. Bombers with pressure again, and that ball off the outstretched fingertips of Oliver.
Well, you pretty much go one more series punting the football if you're BC, and then you got to start thinking about 3-down football and abandoning the punt game.
Bolden getting the ice on the right knee.
That pretty much locks things up for Jerron Bolden.
Louis back in. 99-8. And Johnson awaits. There's Albert Johnson backpedaling and then conceded. Loss of 5 on that. Punt return by Johnson. 14-point Bomber lead. Damon Allen on the BC bench trying to draw up a play to get them back into this game. Right now, though, it's the Bombers with the football. 7:20 to go. And Winnipeg not far away from moving 3 points ahead of Toronto in the East Division standing.
All right, well, there's plenty of football to be played here, but if BC Lions don't put 3 guys on Milt Stegall on this 2nd down, I don't know what game they've been into, because this is the game that Stegall is having. He's catching the football, 2nd and long situations, working on one-on-one. He's blocking. Saw to the left of your screen on a big first down from Kahari Jones, and this was a tremendous touchdown where he fought Derek Lewis for the ball and came up with it. Might as well put 3 on it.
Here's Kahari Jones on 2nd and 8, and guess who?
Well, I don't know. It's a simple game, is it not? I mean, you know where Kahari Jones is going. 162 yards from Milt Stegall. You know, and I know there's concern over Robert Gordon, no question about it, but Milt Stegall has been the guy today.
Remember, he had 11 catches last year, 233 yards against BC. Up to 10 now. Whoops. Ball almost sprang loose. But got it back into his clutches.
You know, and it's one thing to just say double team or whatever, but Jerron Bolden is done for the afternoon, which is good news for BC. But there's, you know, it's one thing to just say throw 2 guys on. It's another thing to say how do you do it. And You can do it a couple ways. You can get a linebacker up on the line of scrimmage to jam him and then drop him off to a DB. Or you can get two defensive backs, the safety and the halfback covering him. The Lions have done neither of that tonight.
2nd and 8.
Here they come.
Jones sets up, looks downfield. Geroy Simon went leaping, but couldn't bring it down. And Kahari Jones just got that away in the clutches.
Yeah, well, they were coming off the edge. Carl Kidd, the newcomer, came with the blitz.
Did want to say, though, Glenn, this guy is getting better, it appears, every week, and that is a key development in Winnipeg.
Well, and just look on that last play, though. Look at Milt Steagle's open again. Kahari Jones, for some reason, decided to take a little bit more, tried to go to Geroy Simon. He had the first down to Steagle. But you're right, he's got better every game out. And talking to Dave Ritchie yesterday, he said that he reminds him of Tracy Ham. That's high praise.
Westwood, a left footer, blasts another. Fletcher and Levy fought over it. Fletcher's got it. 49-yard punt by Westwood. Just a 2-yard return. Welcome back to BC Place Stadium. We just missed an incompletion.
The Lions are happy we did. The incompletion for Damon Allen, but you know, while those Winnipeg fans may be watching this one back at home saying, you know, this one's in the bag, I should remind them that last week in 21 seconds the Lions put 10 points on the board.
Capping an 18-point comeback. Look out, Allen just swung away from Dave Donaldson. Somebody open? Yes! Don Blair, who had a 50-yard touchdown catch earlier in the quarter, has another big reception.
And it all starts with a tremendous play by Damon Allen to get out of trouble. Because off the edge is Dave Donaldson, who thought he had his sights set right in the middle of that 9 on his Damon Allen's back, but like he's done for so many years, a little magic trick springs out there and finds Don Blair.
40-yard reception by Blair this time. And the Lions not conceding. First down. There's a pump fake. He'll look the other way. Oliver with the catch. And
Real Wells, Real Wells gambled. They're going to be close. Now they're saying it's no catch after a little conversation. And I'll tell you, this won't be a highlight reel game for the officials.
Rio Wells in there contributing to the discussion.
Yeah, so they wanted to get that one right. They went over and talked about it right away. But yeah, Rio Wells cut underneath, turned around and saw the catch out of bounds. We'll take one more quick look at it. Rio Wells gambled. There's the catch. And yeah, that right foot, Jimmy Oliver on that white strip.
2nd and 10. Allen on a roll to the right side. Out for Jackson. Steps out for the first down at the 23. And the Lions are threatening again.
You know, playing quarterback isn't always about arm strength. And Damon Allen put a pretty nice feather touch on that ball to just float it over the coverage and drop it in to Alfred Jackson. And he's doing it on the full sprint. It's not all arm strength. Sometimes it's a little bit of a touch pass. And that one floats over Harold Nash in perfect spot.
18 yards for Action Jackson.
Golden's out of the game, and Alfred Jackson's getting involved.
First down. Allen incomplete. Delivers short to Oliver. And he looked up hoping for a flag.
There's not much of an argument from the Lions, although the crowd here wants a flag. Looked like they were both sort of fighting back to the football.
Both quarterbacks this afternoon over 300 yards. Allen 339 yards.
Yeah, you know what? They have an argument, and I'm talking about the fans, because Rio Wells put that left arm across Oliver's chest. Wasn't great.
2nd and 10. Here comes the blitz. Allen looking for Jackson. Touchdown BC.
The BC Lions scored with Jerron Bolden out of the game. One to Don Blair. Now, it wasn't against where Bolden lines up, but it was a change in philosophy. And this time, once again, The Winnipeg Blue Bombers deciding to gamble with some blitz with their best cover guy, and the guy who's been matched up on Jackson out of the game, and Jackson goes right after Harold Nash.
Passaglia adds the extra point. Jackson's 6th touchdown of the year. 2nd touchdown pass of the day for Allen. And they're not going to quit. Alfred Jackson into the end zone to get the Lions within 7, and 3:03 to play.
Talk about nice passes and good touch on the football. This one's up and over where only Alfred Jackson can catch it. Not terrible coverage by Nash, but Jackson is the only guy who has a crack at it, and all of a sudden the Lions have a little more confidence.
They had a short kick last week in the final minute, but you said make sure you kick deep here. There is lots of time to go. And look out, Albert Johnson. I don't know if Giancola can catch him. There is a flag down, but Albert Johnson III has done it again.
Dan Giancola had no shot of catching Albert Johnson.
Offside. BC declined.
I would think so. And the leader in all-purpose yards does it one more time.
95 yards for Albert Johnson. His 13th play over 40 yards this year. His 7th over 50 yards.
Over 1,000 yards in kickoff returns this season, and that adds to it in a big way. But not only that, basically ends it. Alfred Jackson and the BC Lions were getting momentum. They had confidence in the sideline. Well, Albert Johnson just took it away from him.
Marcus Howell returned to kickoff against the Argonauts a month ago for a touchdown. And Albert Johnson has done it for the Bombers this afternoon. Will that be the capper?
In one game versus Edmonton this year, Albert Johnson had over 400 yards all-purpose. Great sort of gear change right in the middle. He went from 2nd to 3rd gear, and then now he slams it into overdrive, and I'm sorry, but Dan Giancola has no chance to catch him.
That was 95 yards, not the direct route, and he did it in 14 seconds.
You cannot coach speed. Just sort of put it up there. Well, don't eat too much turkey, Albert, because you don't want to slow down in any way.
That game in Edmonton was truly remarkable. 474 yards in the game, including 122 on a missed field goal return.
Yeah, that tied it for Winnipeg at that time. They went on to lose that game. And that was problems with Troy Westwood, who's had no problems here this afternoon.
Well, we've only had 35 points in the 4th quarter, and there's still 2:49 left on the clock.
Yeah, lots of time. And remember, with the change in philosophy for the Winnipeg defense, this offense led by Damon Allen has put 2 points on the board, or excuse me, 2 majors on the board once they've had to make the change with Jerome Bolden out. So there's still lots of time for Damon Allen.
Here's Fletcher. Ian Badechu pulls him down at the 32. Well, what a momentum shift. First on the BC side, and then the celebration by Johnson, and Alfred Jackson has to sit down. So much for the momentum he thought his team had.
Well, he really did. They went to the sideline, and Damon Allen and Alfred Jackson sit down together after their touchdown to get it within 7, feeling pretty good about themselves. But Albert Johnson took a lot of wind out of their sails.
Lost to Winnipeg with 610 yards in August. Big stats day for Allen. Looks like it's going for naught, although he still has some time to get back into that secondary of Winnipeg.
Yeah, and that's the only good news for the BC Lions right now is Albert Johnson scored to make it 14 again, but he did it, like you mentioned, in 14 seconds. That didn't take very much time off the clock, so Damon Allen still has over 2 minutes, but he needs 2 scores.
Over the middle. A completion to Millington. Check that Drummond back in the game. Wasn't sure we'd see him again.
Yeah, he's also playing with pain. Got the banged up shoulder, had to shake out the cobwebs.
Took that enormous hit from Tom Europe, but I think he's still feeling the effects. First down. Allen slings it up near side. Don Blair's had a big second half and gets the first down. Or at least close enough to require a measurement.
The Winnipeg Blue Bombers right now are going to play off the Lions and force Damon Allen to throw it underneath and make him move the ball methodically down the field. They're not going to give away the big touchdown throw. Now it's going to take more time.
Blair 123 yards. Look at Alfred Jackson wide open. Touchdown.
I say that and then they go deep, but you know what happened? Rio Wells and Tom Europe collided and went down. And Jackson took advantage of it.
54 yards. Do not go away. 1:58 left. And the pinball game continues.
To the right of your screen, you're going to see a pile of white jerseys. There, right there. See that? Spencer McLennan and Tom Europe went down. Alfred Jackson ran by him. They collided.
Remember, I mentioned that in road games this year, the Bombers have allowed at least 37 in every game. Well, this is Bisaglia adding .33, and we're not done. They're back within a touch. Well, we're back at BC Place Stadium, and what has turned out to be the wildest.
Throws down with Tom Europe. Alfred Jackson says, thank you very much for that little miscue, and I'll just stride into the end zone. At least 100 of those yards with Jerome Bolden out of the game in this fourth quarter for Alfred Jackson. The Lions are still well in it. Now, we said with time-wise that Louis Pasaglia should probably kick it deep, or Dan Giancola. Louis Pasaglia's in the game right now, which could indicate a short kick now. The only reason I would say that is because of what Albert Johnson is capable of.
They executed it twice last week. Medium distance, and brought down by the sure-handed Stiegel.
The only reason for that kick was to keep it out of the hands of Albert Johnson, because that was certainly not a short kick attempt from Louis Pasaglia. He wasn't trying an onside. He was trying to pooch kick the ball into that medium area where Albert Johnson could not get his hands on it. That was 55 yards away from Johnson.
42 points in the quarter. It's the 4th highest scoring quarter in CFL history. In 1990, the Lions and the Toronto Argonauts put 50 points on the board in 15 minutes of football. Kahari Jones and Damon Allen may not be done yet.
Lions won't go away.
Fake to Philpott. Completion to Stiegel. Shakes a tackle and drops the ball. Bombers get back on it. Oh, Stiegel almost committed a cardinal sin, but gets bailed out by Geroy Simon.
Really does. Raphael Ball strips Milt Stiegel of the football while he's trying to gain more yardage. Again, the Lions staying with the one-on-one coverage on Stiegel, and Central McClellan can't make the tackle, but watch Raphael Ball with the strip there. Very lucky are the Bombers to recover that one, because there's 2-1 Lions to Bombers all over that football, and Geroy Simon comes up to it.
Carl Kidd had a sure shot, didn't come up with it. Simon got the wind knocked out of him after he landed on the pigskin.
You know, Chris, this is a very good sign for Winnipeg Blue Bomber fans when they can see the way this game has flowed. Kahari Jones has looked very good in this game. Every time the Lions come back, the Winnipeg Blue Bombers respond. Throughout this season and into last year, this was a team that would fold their tents when the other team would strike. This team is fighting back every step of the way. Good sign for Bomber fans.
They have had their hearts broken so often with that loss to Montreal in the dying seconds earlier, but there's been a few for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers this year.
And the other good sign is that if Winnipeg can get into the playoffs this year, they have beat Hamilton and they have beat Montreal this year. The two teams they'll have to get past to get to the Grey Cup later.
33 yards was the gain after the fumble. Phil Pott trying to drive for an extra yard or two. Gets 3 with 1:20 on the clock. Well, we have to go back to July of '99.
That was the 99-yarder from Milt Stegall I talked about earlier. He had 233 that day against the Lions. He had 158 this year against the Lions. He likes the Lions.
And he has his biggest day of this season. Philpott again took a hit. Corey Philpott scrambling close to a first down.
You know, again, when the BC Lions go back and look at this film like they have the last 2 weeks, which have both been close losses, they can look right at their defense, which is continuing to struggle throughout the year. When they need the big stop, when they need to step up, they haven't been able to do it. Think back to last week versus Edmonton. They force it into overtime. Bit of a miracle just to do that. And then in overtime, the defense can't stop Edmonton on any of the possessions.
And when our next game is even more important if this score holds. The BC Lions 2 points up on Saskatchewan. Go to Taylor Field next Saturday afternoon.
Well, really, those two will decide where they finish on their own, and that's the way it should be. You don't want to have to wait and see what other teams do to decide your playoff fortune, but they will decide. They have 2 games against each other. Who will finish third? Possibility to move into second for both teams. Edmonton losing earlier today.
Bombers have Montreal, Hamilton, Toronto, and Edmonton left. 3rd down and short. Jones follows the pile to move the sticks. And barring something unforeseen, the Bombers are going to finally end their losing ways on the road.
You know, and they may want to take a crack once the last 54 seconds get down to about 10-15 at the end zone. Because of the crossover, the Bombers have to be, if there's a tie, the Bombers get in. There's no crossover possibility. In other words, if there's a tie in points in the standings, the Lions can't cross over. They have to be ahead of them. But the Bombers are also worried about the Argos in the point race.
They'll move 3 points ahead of Toronto if they can hold on here. Philpott again. Short yardage on the ground. Down to 31 seconds to go and no timeout left for BC.
They'll stay conservative. They'll just keep pounding it in there and get Troy Westwood to possibly come and kick the deciding points and not give the Lions that onside possibility if there's just a few seconds left on the clock. But it doesn't look like they're even going to see the football again.
Stegall put it on the carpet, and you could only wonder what would have happened had BC recovered that ball.
Fumble.
Look out. It's not done yet. Lions have it with 6 seconds.
Oh, my. Last week, 21 seconds left. The Lions scored 10 points.
Has anything happened easy for Dave Ritchie since he got to Winnipeg?
They're going to make him work for this one from start to finish because 6 seconds left. Basically, BC has 2 shots at it. You throw up, hope for the penalty or the Hail Mary pass, and hope you have at least 1 second to go for the end zone. They need about 30-40 yards on this play for a crack legitimately for the Hail Mary to the end zone on the last play.
No, he thought the fumble problems of Corey Philpott were over. And now, Alfred Jackson, let's find out. David's going to air it out. He got nailed as he delivered. Jump ball downfield, and it's going to fall incomplete. And there are no flags. The Lions comeback falls short. And the Winnipeg Blue Bombers have finally won a game on the road.
full credit to Dave Ritchie's squad that seems to be fighting back from adversity and getting better every game out. Watch out for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers down the stretch.
Bombers post back-to-back wins with Khari Jones. It finishes 40-33.